Hello, hello, hi, folks. Welcome. Happy Sunday in hopes that you squeezed more out of your day than the day squeezed out of you. Welcome. I am Sean Azimi with SideGigSean.com, where I help you look, start, and grow your side gig. Welcome. Good to see you. Jenny, how are you? Welcome. Good to see you guys. So I have an interesting one for you. Yes. Hello. Hi. Yes. It's catching on. It's spreading. Yeah. Welcome. You know what the best is? When I have actually people send me messages and chats, and they try to start their conversation with hope you squeezed more out of the day. They try their best. So I appreciate that too very much. That's very cool actually when I get that. So tonight I got an interesting one for you. I don't know if you can relate or not, may not, but there are times that I feel like lonely, right? You feel like maybe you're in an area, or maybe a song hits you, or maybe a certain food or whatnot, and it kind of takes you back to a certain point, not necessarily with another person. To money, welcome. Not necessarily the memory with another person, but it just kind of takes you away, maybe to your childhood or earlier years, and you kind of feel like, oh man, I feel like lonely, alone, right? And that's a real feeling. Like I've had that like several times. So I don't know about you, but I've had that. If you've had that, say like me, or say hope you squeezed more out of your day than the day squeezed out of you. Yes, instead of then, it's then. But very good, Jenny. I love it. Yes, and so I have some surprises up my sleeves too. They're coming. But so what do you do with that like loneliness? Like where can you turn to, especially when like it's hard to turn to somebody else when you feel lonely. Does that make sense? It doesn't really translate well with other people. I don't feel like it has in the past, right? So thank you. That's funny. So here's a story I want to share with you, and this is such a fantastic analogy not to just stick to when it comes to loneliness or being out of place or any of that, but you'll see why you can take this and apply it in a whole lot of places. So give you a little story. There's a student monk and a master monk that decide to take a walk through the jungle, right? And for a few days. So they're going through the jungle, just the two of them. And this is a very tight jungle, which means lots of trees stuck together, kind of barely any space around you, and very tall grown trees, so that like the space above is kind of limited as well, right? So if you can imagine, they're walking through this forest, and I can imagine it's very for me, I just like being here now, it just sounds really scary. But anyway, these two guys are going through the forest, and the master monk kind of senses that hey, there's something like going on with the kid monk, right? Yeah, alone and lonely are different though. You can be alone, which is kind of I've been alone for a long time, which is kind of actually kind of cool in a way. But then lonely is like when you really feel alone with yourself, right? It's kind of just like so, maybe I do a live on that. But so he can tell there's something up with the kid monk, right? So he turns around to him and says, "Hey, what's on your mind? I can see you're in deep thought, right?" And the kid monk turns around and says, "Yeah, I'll tell you what, this forest and all these trees tied together, and like there's no space, no air. Um, it I can't help it, but I really feel um, lonely." And the master monk says, "Okay, why does this make you feel so lonely?" And the kid monk turns around and says, when I was a kid, my parents left me, and I became an orphan at a very early age. And I've always felt really lonely. And there's things that I've worked on it for years. Obviously, I'm a monk, but sometimes there are things that triggers that, and this is one of those things, and it hasn't happened like for a long time, right? So he says, okay. He says, I want you to take a look at all these trees. Do you see them as orphans, or do you see these trees as non-orphans? And the kid monk he looks at the master and thinks to himself, what does that really mean? When he's thinking this, the master, he's thinking to himself, hey, we're a monk. We're supposed to get into the deepest of the deepest and the darkest stuff and not be affected. We're a monk, right? That's funny too, Mike. Really? Oh, you lost the audio? Oh man, I thought you were just being funny. The canopy of trees are very thick. Yeah. So he says, you know what? We gotta get into like the deepest and darkest places and be totally cool with it. And this guy is just in a forest, and So he's all like, so do you feel like these trees are orphans or non-orphans? So the kid monk says, kind of looks around, thinks to himself, and says, well, um, I don't like, I mean, they're all together, so I don't know. Are they? I don't know. Maybe they're not alone. And the master monk says, are you sure? You want to like rethink that? And the kid looks around and says, you know what? There's no parent tree around, so these guys must be orphans. So he turns around to the master monk and says, you know what? These trees are all orphans. My final answer, kind of thing. And the master says, I do agree with you because there is no parent tree. So I would say these are orphans. But what do you see that they have done, even though they're orphans? So the kid monk is thinking, right? Thinking and thinking. So like, well, I mean, I can see they're like really growing, like really tall and thick, and I can see that. And the master monk turns around and says, yes, even though they are orphans, the roots and their trunks and their leaves never stop spreading and growing. Never. They're constantly looking for information, looking for knowledge, looking for growth. The roots are spread in the dirt all along the earth. The trunk above the ground, the leaves in the sky. They are reaching the highest they can reach, even though they're orphans. That's so good. That is so good, right? That's so good. No parent tree, right? But they never stop. They never stop wanting to learn and grow and expand. And some of us, I think we can apply, like I said in the beginning, you can see where you can apply this like a whole lot of places beyond loneliness, right? I'll give you a couple of examples. So imagine that though. Imagine if you could say, okay, well, maybe I'm an orphan, okay, which I have a lot of love for orphans. I can't say I have been, and I don't have any kids, but that's one organization that, like the foster parents and foster kids, that's one organization that I contribute to. So that's like my thing, right? And I think it's just amazing, right? It's just amazing what they've gone through and who they be, who they can become, and just their whole life, the journey. It's just I feel like it's amazing. So imagine where else you could apply this principle, right? You could imagine like if you could just sit there and say, hey, you know what? I'm lonely. I'm alone. I'm all this. I'm all that. Or you could be busting your butt like Jenny is, working your tail off, growing, expanding, all kinds of ways, and not even thinking about that. You could be applying that same principle in your side gig and business and say, you know what, the kind of life I am in right now, I kind of like to upgrade a little bit. I like to go up a little bit. I like to take maybe a couple more vacations. Maybe when I go to the store, or when I go to I don't know, maybe when I shop online or what have you, I kind of want to spend a little bit more. I kind of want to buy a couple more things. I want to expand. I want to grow my roots. I want to expand my trunk. I want to just extend my leaves. Oof. I love that. That was great. That was great. Okay. So you could take that and apply that anywhere. You could take that excuse that you love to like cherish and like feed and like care for, and this is like my excuse, and it's so good. You could take that excuse and apply this principle to it. Imagine that. Imagine applying this principle to that and saying, you know what, this little excuse that I'm so good at holding on to and caring and like showing to everybody, hey, look at my excuse, right? I can take that and I can expand, I can grow, I can reach, I can extend, right? So the next time you feel like, hey, you're lonely or life has hit you, and I'm telling you, when I 100% of times when I share a thought or a story with you, I tell you whether I have gone through it or not, like 100% of times, right? When I share a story, I go, like, I don't have kids, I haven't been an orphan, so I don't know, right? But I tell you what has gone through my life and how I can relate or not. But here's a big thing. I had loneliness all the time. I've gone through this stuff. I may be even going through this stuff, and that's no lie. There are times that I do feel that, and work in progress. I work on it. I catch it, right? Especially the year that I've had. Now fall forward to this past like 3 weeks. It's been insane, right? So I'm no stranger to these things. The principles and the ideas I share with you, if I agree with them, I tell you I agree with them, or I tell you I don't agree with this at all, but I found it very interesting, right? But these are, like I've said before, you get many chances in a day to put a few of these principles in practice, you know, whether it's anxiety or anger or loneliness or laziness or whatever it is, or being nice to people, or treating somebody with respect, or not getting upset over a customer service phone call, or what have you, right? You get many chances in a day to apply these principles, right? But sometimes you get to like put these things in practice, and it may not be the easiest thing, I can tell you that. But at least you got some principles, some stuff you can hold on to, and you can at least have some tools that you could use, right? So hopefully you guys got some love, some inspiration, some value from this. Drop your thoughts, your comments, your feedback below. Let this feed grow. If you feel like this was worthy of sharing, do what you gotta do. Spread the love and tag a couple people or share it on your wall. And I appreciate you guys. I got a skit coming out. It's a singing skit. I'll give you a hint. So my microphone is gonna be around. That's all I'm gonna give you guys, but it's coming. So thank you guys. And with that, I am Sean Azimi with SideGigSean.com, where I help you look, start, and grow your side gig. Signing off until tomorrow when we do it all over again. Much love. I'm going to love every comment. That's funny.